Sunshine, and this is the Playground Experience Sandbox Q&A Live. As you see, we have some special guests in the Sandbox today. We have our own co-host here, April Williams, with her baby. We call him nephew. Woo! And then we have Kathy D and her babies. We got Helen and Jackie. Yee! And then we also have Bonita in the house, our resident specialist for childhood and all that special, the light workers that are coming in to be. And we have our own Jupiter 1111. Welcome everybody to the Sandbox edition. This is a continuation of, and then we have my mom, let's not forget her too, as well, here in the Sandbox edition Q&A. So we're here continuing on the topic that we had on Wednesday, which is the family dynamic. And we thought that it would be very interesting that we bring on our family members because they are the ones that know us most. And also they have experienced our spiritual gifts and we know how to be able to use and how they know how to nurture our specialized gifts too as well. This is a topic that's very near and dear to Bonita's heart. She's always has came to me and told me about what she's going to see as far as the new family dynamic. I know some of you all were able to catch the episode that we had on Wednesday. If not, please make sure that you go back and look at that because there's a lot of good information that we used as far as understanding the family dynamics and where we're going. So, no, Bonita, last time they said I threw you underneath the bus, but this is your topic, so I am going to throw you back out there again. Get out there in the water, into the deep again, and kind of, again, tell a little bit about yourself and a little bit about where you see the family dynamic going.
Okay, I'm Bonita, in case y'all haven't met me yet. My channel is Wave of a Beautiful Warrior. Purpose and mission for me is family dynamics and the change of the template. Nurturing the ones coming up, adult children. I was given the age range 26 down. Grandchildren that are coming in, helping them to understand and hone their gifts, as well as the changing of the family template to encompass the growing unity consciousness. I just went totally blank. Thanks. No, because I was in my mind sitting there going, okay, she just asked three questions, and I was trying to go through them.
Bluetooth up for that.
What?
Turn Bluetooth up on
Oh,
that.
hold on a second. Technical difficulties.
Okay.
No technical difficulties with you.
Oh, no, Mateo was trying to turn the Bluetooth on, and he still had it on the speaker on the computer. Either way, the focus is not only helping heal thyself, which is the primary aspect of the adventure, but then the coming into union with your counterpart, and also how the family dynamic might change for you, might expand, might decrease, however it ends up for you, and to be able to work with the children with that, while also you're learning something new with your counterpart at that point. So
right, and so we discussed on Wednesday how the dynamic shifts and changes and how the children are going to be also a major point as far as creating this new earth that we're talking about. I know April stepped away for a second, but she was saying that we need to fast forward and talk about the older. What was it that you was talking about that we talked about the generation, the younger one, but we should have talked about the older ones too? I remember.
Oh, yeah. The integration of the family template, the new family template it's all ages, right? Because we're all family and we have so much to learn. And there are a lot of flag holders that held the space for us to even be where we are spiritual. And we are holding the space for our next generation, for them to fully expand. And we've all had these gifts passed throughout the generations. So like just learning about how, for example, your sweet mother, how she was able to balance, or how did you integrate having your special ability with the pressures of society, right? Because society really didn't allow you to fully go into the full expression of your gifts, but you held a space so that Bertina could actually shine right now and doing what she's doing. So if she could tell us a little bit about that and pioneering that, and then, you know, and then we'll go into like some of the lessons and like karma and stuff like that, changing of that energy.
Yeah, so just talk about a little bit about, you know, even in the family, we already was gifted and how that gave the ability for you to accept me with the specializing that I had too.
Well, when it came down through my family, mostly I was only child, like Bertina's the only child, and my mother and myself. So my mother, she had it. The way she would do it when I come in and say about, well, my boyfriend, which was my husband. We'll leave that. And so I would say, well, I haven't seen, she would give me dates. And I believe them dates would come, whatever date that she would give me. She said, okay, you're going to see him on January the 6th. And I would look at her and say, huh? And January the 6th would come up. So my background comes from my grandfather, which was a minister, and down. But I really think it more comes from my mother's mother, which we're all Indian. And it more so comes from that because now my cousin, which I call is my brother, he has it too. So it's most stronger on my mother's side than I never seen it on my father's side. But my mother's side is very, very strong. We pick up things very. I personally picks up more through dreams. Now I can see other things, but if I dream something and I wake right up, it's true. It's going to come true. Like I told Bertina, my husband would make his transition in 9 months. 9 months he made it. My mother told me when she left, just before she left, she told me, she says, her and I slept in the same bed. And so she told me, she says, in 6 months, you're going to be the happiest girl in the world. I woke up and I looked at her and I said, she's asleep. But 6 months, she left me. 6 months, my husband came back to my life. So it's very strong on our side. So now, the first time Bertina did it, I was shocked. I hadn't really, because I figured that it cut off around me. Her and I were sitting, and she said to me, she said, Mom, did you have a pink Chanel spread in your house? And I said, yeah. She said, I see your mother laying on it. And that was true. So from then on, she's bypassed me. She's bypassed me. She's very bypassed me. Because when she said that, my mouth flew open and I couldn't say nothing else but that. She told me, she said, your mother said you still a big baby, although you've grown. So it's very strong on our side. Very, very strong. So that's it.
Yeah, so.
Oh, no, we want to hear more little Bertina stories.
No, that's enough. That's enough. I hear next, Bonita, did you say something? No, yeah, so that really allows, since through the, like she's saying about the family, I growing up never did think me sharing my gifts and telling things was like anything foreign. I thought everybody was pretty much able to do it. I knew it wasn't, but I thought everybody was open and receptive. My mom always openness for me to share my gifts. It was never like, be quiet, you just shut up. My dad wasn't like that either. He just looked and smiled and wouldn't say nothing. But I could tell within him, it's like, okay, it's a matter of fact thing because your mom does that, so I accept. So there wasn't any time growing up I thought that it was different. So that helps when you grow into that kind of environment, it helps to cultivate your gifts as well, to not, like, oh, well, let me try this then. Well, let me try this, because you have such a support system, such as your family as well with that. Kathy D, what's with your family, with the both of your kids and stuff? I know they're gifted as well. I mean, how do you share the same sentiments too of how you able to raise and nurture their gifts and bring it out and cultivate it?
Yeah. Because mine was always when I was little and I would see things, and I have just recently, I'd been told a while back that I was able to, and never believed that I was able to see people that had passed on. And I, as a little kid, saw soldiers, Civil War soldiers and stuff walking up and down our hallway. And my mom always told me it was just the lying tricks on my eyes just to go to sleep, or I was tired. Bonita and I were talking about it today. Even as a small child, I was talking about the power surges a couple weeks ago. And I remember my mom used to put like rubbing alcohol on my feet and put a little oscillating fan on them because they would get so hot, but they weren't hot to the touch. And that would make them cool. And it was just, they always said it was just because I had sweaty feet, and that was that. And so now looking back, I've gone through so much of this, like all my life, and now learning to accept it, that it's not just, something in my mind has brought it on. So when Helen started, how old were you?
9.
Yeah, she was 9.
That's about the age.
And now she slid down. She's on the iPad, but this one is 9. And so she's coming on as a stronger, clear channel. And so it's loads of fun to do the little one. Helen, not so much, I think, anymore. At first it was fun. Tell them about your ability, what you used to do to people.
Which time? Like what?
You're jumping.
Oh, when I jump into people's heads just like for fun. In class, if I'm bored and somebody's giving me a dirty look, I just shoot right into their head.
And my little sister does that. She's so good at like working crowds and like controlling energy. Like, I'm just proud of you for doing your work. I mean, we safety first, but yeah, have fun.
Yeah, she used to cheat on tests too.
Well, I mean,
So I don't know if I need to start putting a hedge of protection around your teachers or around their answer key. But
Get to it one way or another.
yeah, you hear her? She said, "I'll get to it one way or another."
That's right. What's the point of having a gift you can't use it to? I'm saying, high five. No. No, I will not condone that as a teacher. That's wrong, but okay.
we're proud of you for learning the spectrum of your gifts. That's all Auntie April is going to say.
There you go.
She doesn't fear them either. She has zero fear. Like, I've been, with both of them, and y'all talk about strong energy. Like when we're in the circle and everything, a lot of times I get energy bursts from everybody, especially when we get going good. Just being in the energy of those two at their age is oftentimes, for me, stronger than the energy of us adults, 10 of us together in the circle. That's how powerful those girls are.
Wow.
And what's beautiful about that onset is like souls are coming in and talking to me before they come out of my friends, basically. So like as soon as my friend was pregnant, I got a visit from his daughter, and I was like, hey, I just see you and a baby and the farm and what's going on. I don't know, but just know that we love you and it's all good. And like, he's like, I didn't know he was pregnant, but he told us, yes. In fact, that might be my daughter. It's like, oh, okay, really, very cool. Like these kids coming in, their fear is not part of their conversation. We are out processing it right now, especially in terms of like the fear mongering that society has going on right now. And I'm really proud of them for just trusting themselves and knowing, because they're all plugged into a different wavelength, I think, that they don't have a lot of the reservations that have been we've been browbeaten with reservations on how to hold back or to limit, or, it's only in the power of, let's say, your priest or your preacher. They're the only people that can say, go there. And it's like, no, we've all been given this gift. We're all now getting to the point of, there's been so much corruption in the actual organizations that each individual is now being empowered with their gifts to be able to work them. Like this little kid, he's amazing. And what he'll do energy work. I had visions of him while I was pregnant with him, and he was showing me, because I hadn't done energy work in a while, and he's like, you're going to show me how to do the energy work, you're going to show me how to do all the protections, you're going to show me how to do the psychic surgeries and all that stuff. And I was like, what is going on? Like he even he laid hands on we went to go do a play date, right? And the little boy was not as aware as Emmanuel is of himself and surroundings and stuff. So we worked some stuff out with that. But anyway, the mom was sitting there, and Emmanuel just goes up to her and gives her a hug and puts his hand on her heart. And then she starts crying. Like all this stuff starts coming out of her. And I was like, that's my boy right there. I was like, okay, here we go. So I'm excited that your girls are practicing the scope of their gifts. They look a little frozen, so hopefully they come back in just a moment. But but Raquel, how is it for you with you having such beautifully active and gifted children?
It's really great for me to provide for them an atmosphere that I didn't get, because it feels like whatever came down my line, it was very dormant or wasn't spoken about. There's no one in my family who's out of the closet, so to speak, with any gifting. And I have such a strong spirit gift of faith and prophecy and, healing, energy work, all these like knowing things. I just know things, which can creep people out. I just know stuff, but I wasn't encouraged on it. It was almost like you don't question, you don't question like priests, and I just knew to ask good questions, but the good questions were like, no, shut up. You're too young to be asking those questions. And then when I met my catalyst twin, which was my ex-husband, may he rest in power, my gifts starting to come up because I kept on suppressing them. And then I was able to go into like charismatic circles where they really nurtured the prophetic and the healings and all this, like the stuff that we enjoy here and we kind of do freely, they did over there. So it provided me a safe place to be activated. But because I didn't have any good mentors and protocols, I didn't have good boundaries. So then I would just have to shut everybody off and then just kind of ran from it because it was too strong and I didn't know what to do with what I was given. And so now I'm, in my mid 40s. My daughter has a gift, Angela. Her name is Angela Luce, which means messenger from the God of light. And she's just kind of always at the right place at the right time with the right words. Like she just kind of like floats into the room, or she ends up like going somewhere, and it's just she's got this impeccable. That's her. I said that's your superpower. You know how to give the right word, and scripture talks about that, like the right word at the right time. It's like having apples on a silver platter. It's just like perfect and fruitful. And so that's one of the main things that comes up on her. And then my number one son, he's 16. He's got a really strong healing gift. It's for those who know David and his soul mission, it's very akin to that. So when I started becoming friends with David, he was telling me about what he can do and what he's been gifted with. And then I started seeing it happen in my son. So then I was able to help him nurture that and not be afraid of like what he was seeing. And it's like, oh, I have a friend who's very similar. He's got very similar gifts. So if you want to talk to him, he's available for you to talk to. So it was great to have this, a male mentor if I needed it, for my son. And then encouraging him, like he'll see things and he'll start drawing it. He sees auras. He'll start praying, and I don't know where he got this from because I don't pray that way. So I don't know if he was just instinctive or he saw something. He came in one day recently and he started praying, and he was doing like the energy thing that we do. And I was looking at him like, where'd you pick that up from? I was just watching him, not asking him any questions, and he's just like doing this energy ball. So I'm just like, well, what do you see? He's like, it's an energy ball. I'm like, well, what color is it? So I'm asking him questions, encouraging him. And so we're also in communities where this is not, it's not really talked about. It's not, things of like of a prophetic nature or words of knowledge are not encouraged. So like the people that we're with, they do the one thing very well, which is love. They're very loving and accepting, but more of the woo-woo stuff that we do here, they were like, So it's even in those things, like how do I train my son to be himself around the people that we love, that do the fundamentals well of love and acceptance, but are still just not open to the outward expressions of how God likes to do things, because they're not ready to experience the visuals of miracles. Like they'll see a miracle like, oh great, you got that job, or great, the cancer's gone after 50 rounds of chemo. Yay. But for somebody to come up and be like, to pray for them or to release healing over them, and they're like they start getting freedom from depression or whatever, whatever it is, there was a conduit, a word of knowledge, just a knowing, a date, things like that. They're like, they don't know what to do with. And so like training my son even in that, how do you language it so that way there's still seed, when you're talking to somebody, because we need to be wise in that too, to be able to express to someone in a way that they can receive it, so they can receive that miracle seed that we've been created for. So it was funny because we were talking about something, and then he goes, yeah, I know, just don't tell them specifics, just tell them I gotta, like, we'll tell them like, oh, have you thought about it this way, or I'm feeling like God wants me to pray for you, or I'm just having a feeling, or I have a gut, so it's just like changing the language that means the same, right? Like I have a gut feeling that, have you considered? And then they're like, oh, he's such a wise boy, and I'm like, yeah. And then I have, my daughter's 19, my son is 16, my first son, and then my second son is 11. And so when he was younger, he was able to see things, but I think he's kind of suppressed the gifts because he was able to see like dark entities and stuff. And so it scared him. So he's kind of suppressed that. And I think the more, and his brothers is like, that's his sun and his moon. And his, the number one son would do things in front of a younger one. So I think the more he witnesses that freedom, it makes him feel like, okay, if he's doing it and he's so free, and mom's doing it and she's so free, then it's okay for me, So just kind of creating the atmosphere for them to just be who they are. And also explaining to my daughter, my younger son, because they see my middle child that has more spectacular gifts, more Hollywood time, like, ooh, And then they see me and they're like, well, mom and Alex are more like Hollywood, zap, kind of superpowers. And what do I got, I got being at the right place at the right time. What kind of lame gift is that? But that's actually more useful probably than what we have, because you could do all kinds of stuff there, right? So also letting them know that whatever they've been gifted with, the stuff that we've been given with, when it's outward like that, where it's more showy in nature, we also have to have a thicker skin, because we're going to be persecuted more for it. And so, her gift isn't any less powerful or needed just because it's not more Hollywood in nature, or, more like spectacular, I guess is the word that I want to use for it. I said, your gift isn't any less powerful or needed. I was like, you don't understand that, so every time that she shows up, I try to encourage that gift in her. I was like, that's one of your gifts. We don't know what all your gifts are, but we know that's definitely one of them. I go, and that is such a powerful gift, because when someone is in their lowest moment and you just show up and you just say something, it turns their whole perspective around, and you don't even know you're doing it because you're just flowing in it. So every time that she does that for me, I just kind of, give her that encouragement. Like that, I was like, there you are, that's your superpower. And then I just like hug her real tight. And I was like, I'm so grateful for you that you were born. If, you weren't born, I wouldn't have gotten this. This is what I needed right now. So now she's kind of like, that's my superpower.
Yes. I want to just correct one, but I want to correct one little thing in your lingo. when you have this power here, you're not expected to get persecuted for that. I've had, thank God, my experience has, even with my friends, I've always used in my lingo the energy, the vibe. They get me. I've around my friends have not ever shined down or not told them how gifted I am. I have not ever not showed them I feel this way. I'm noticing this. This is what I'm picking up. Thank God. I'll say maybe that's because I'm expecting those type of friends around me that I have not yet had any of my friends to say anything to me. Maybe because of my personality and they accept and they either keep their mouth closed, almost like the old folks say they ain't got nothing good to say. They keep their mouth closed around me, or they don't say nothing at all, or they're like, and that's it. So I know, to me, to change the verb of saying persecuted, because it's not always to be expected to be persecuted, because
I think it depends too, right? Because it's like I did a lot of corporate work. So doing corporate work, I can't, in order for them to hear what I have to say, I can't use the language we have here because it's not corporate speak. And so it's not going to be translated the same. So it's like, I think Peter said in scripture, be all things to all people, which means learn their language so you speak their language so they can receive what you have to say. So with my friends, I can say vibe or energy because they're like, oh, I get that. But if I'm working in a corporate setting and I'm doing corporate work, I need to, if I say vibe and they're not used to that because it's a very black and white corporate place, or if I'm called in to do a training and all of a sudden my gift starts kicking in, I need to be able to use language like, have you considered? And that's what I mean. It's like knowing your audience, because if it's a friend, you can say vibe and energy. But if you're in a corporate setting, or you're called to do counseling, or you're called to be kind of in a place where you're talking to the masses, then being able to sidestep your communication to match the audience. And if your audience is good with, and you can tell is good with the free flow of language, then you free flow there. But for me, it's like learning the different, figuring out through discernment, who am I talking to and where are they comfortable, so that way I can give them what they need at that time. Because if me being free with my language is going to be a barrier, well, then now we can say, well, that's their problem. They're going to receive it. They're going to receive it. But I've studied a lot of like personality, different ways of connecting with personalities and things of that measure, because of the things that I've been called to do. So I was doing before I started, I did a lot of work in corporate. So that was like my I guess my blueprint for things. And I had to deal with a lot of different personalities, and I did a lot of global work. And I had people that I was connecting to literally in 40 offices around the world. And how do I get them to see what I want them to see, when I'm like, I can see their energy, I can see their languaging. We're all speaking English, but no one's understanding each other. So like, okay, how am I going to tell you this in a way that you can understand? Because what I have to tell you is important, but if I say it in a way where you can't receive it, then it's like me throwing it on, hard soil. Their soil is hardened. So in our languaging, we can, use the different tactics of language to soften the soil. So that way, and till it a little bit. So when we speak or we do what we have to do, it kind of then takes seed, because it's like the parable of the seeds, right? The seed goes on the hardened soil. It's not going anywhere. So we need to, sometimes, it just depends. That's why the discernment and practice is not 100%. We're not always going to be right, and it just really depends on what we're called to. Some people, it's all like, that's the whole business is around energy. The whole business is around vibes. So they can just kind of free flow that. But I know that mine isn't. And so for me, I need to be more discerning of who my audience is and who I'm talking to, so that I can reach those people. And then the thing is, when they get comfortable with me, I can start using the other language, and they're like, oh, then they start asking the questions, because then their heart is ready. The soil is ready to receive the other seeds, the good stuff that we have to tell them. But a lot of times they're not ready. So it's kind of like, come on, follow me.
I get what you're saying, and I'm not discrediting that. But if I'm a young person like Kathy or Jackie, and I hear somebody saying because I have gifts, and it's automatically I'm expecting to be persecuted. The first thing that comes to mind is like the Salem of witch hunts. I mean, that's why.
But that's true. It would be nice.
Hold on. Let's actually ask them what it feels like to be them if they feel persecuted. Because that is something that is our age and up. I don't know if it's really this way. So I was actually going to feel the question for her. So Helen.
There you go.
Helen, hey, welcome to the show, girlfriend. All right. Hey, Jackie, how you doing, girl? I see you, cutie. I see you.
Cutie pie.
Like when you tell your friends, do they act?
Oh, I don't tell my friends.
Okay, so tell them.
I don't tell my friends because I feel like they would like first be freaked out by it, but then also they probably wouldn't leave me alone with questions and like crush thinking, do they like me back? Well, how do you know that? Well, how can I be sure? Or like things like that. But like I just don't tell them because I don't want them to be bothering me all the time. That sounds bad, but
that makes sense. Do you have friends that have gifts, or you can tell people are hiding in the closet because you can jump in and out of people's brains?
I have a few friends with like really, really good intuition that they just don't use. But other than that, I don't really have any friends that have. Well, I have one friend who can jump into people's heads, and that's like the only friend that knows about it.
Okay, cool. So you guys are still kind of up and coming. What are you saying, Mama?
I would most of the time people meet me up. It's not that I'm quiet; it's that I'm observing. And when I'm observing, I'm finding out what kind of company I'm in before I start to talking and letting my real self being observed, that I can pick out personality. Something she said, you must remember, I'm aged, but I'm not aged. But something she said there that I can kind of observe, because when, like Bertina said, her friends said, what did your mom say about it? Now, it's not the matter that I'm talking to young people. I'm just observing what they are saying and what they're doing, and I'm reading their minds and everything. I'm sitting back very, very quiet, because you generally know whose company you're in. Like she says, she working the carpet. What's your name, baby? Who's her name?
It's Raquel.
Oh, it's Raquel. That's mine.
Yes, that's hot chocolate.
That's my hot chocolate.
I'm hot chocolate, babe. I bring her hot chocolate. Whenever I see her, I bring her hot chocolate.
Yeah. So I kind of can't go saying how you feel about each and everything and all. But when you get through observing, you can kind of tell who I can let myself be, who I can tell what they're doing and how they're doing. But that's just my personality. Everybody's not like that. Because the first thing they'll say, well, she kind of quiet. No, I'm not quiet. I'm just observing you. And when I get through observing you, 9 out of 10, I got you. But should I be myself, or should I just be quiet and let you jump into the river? Because I see it coming around something like that. That's the way I feel about it. Like the young lady that said, you can't tell everybody your business, because they'll make something out of it, and that leads on to something else. So just observe them. Then you know the ones that you can be yourself at, that I can say what I want to say with them and everything. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I understand that too, but it was just the point of saying that automatically I can't be myself because I'm gonna be persecuted. That was just a little kind of like, okay. So then even when I feel gifted and if God, of course, tells me to say something, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it because I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna be persecuted in it. But I get what everybody's saying, and I'm totally agreeing.
Yeah, and we have to train them, because even Jesus was persecuted for his gifts, right? So it's just like wisdom and saying, okay, it's just discernment, practicing where you're supposed to be, practicing listening, practicing being, practicing engaging, knowing that that's going to happen, but being so sure. And that's where it comes, like, Getting to the point where you're so sure with who you are and what you've been gifted with, that when it comes, because it's going to come, it's going to come. And that's because there's always going to be people who want to come against the light. But if we can instill in our children that it's going to come, and when it comes, it's fine, because you've been gifted with this, you can handle it. You know, you're powerful, and nothing's going to come against you that you can't handle with you and God, or you and your angels, because you're divinely protected. But to just say, well, they're not going to get persecuted, well, we know that's not true. You know, there's always somebody who's going to try because they're jealous, because they're envious, because they don't understand. And when people don't understand, they want to kill off. And so if we can instill in our children, this is a possibility. This at some point, you're going to feel some kind of level on it. But when you do, you're going to have the goods inside of you to fight it off. Mm-hmm. You're going to have the goods inside of you to stand, because you know who you are. You know what you've been gifted with. You've been made for a purpose, on purpose, and you have these, you know, supernatural abilities to help people. And as long as they have the conviction of who they are and the beauty of the things that they've been gifted with, then they're like, you know, sometimes they're like, you know, they may get sad because they'll have a Judas, they'll have a best friend who stabs them in the back, they'll have people who they didn't expect to kind of like all of a sudden leave them when something bad happens, and they're talking about them, and all of a sudden everybody leaves. Like, wait, where did everybody go? I thought you were for me. Now I'm like, I'm having to stand here by myself, you know, and that's sad. But if we instill those things of get prepared, because the possibility is pretty good that's going to happen at some point in your life. When it happens, they go back to those lessons, like, oh yeah, mom told me about that. Yeah, dad told me about that. I'm good. I know who I am. And you know, if that's their choice to choose to see me through their distorted eyes, that's their distortion to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got that. I kind of will leave that. I kind of still a little bit. I get what you're saying. I guess when that day comes, I would kind of change the lingo a little bit, because I know as a person with my mom, also learning to have a voice. That's something, a trigger thing with me of understanding that to be able to express. And when I hear a person who's sensitive like that or overact the crown, all I heard was persecuted. I didn't hear anything else beyond that. So that's what I'm saying. That wording would have to be, because I didn't hear nothing good. All I heard was persecuted.
I agree with that.
That I would tell my child that, but this is not my moment. This isn't my thing. But I'm just saying, it depends on your child too. You're talking about the audience, right? So you have to,
true. Yeah.
That word might scare them and say, I don't want to express because mommy told me that I might be persecuted. Everybody's not going to like me. And if you have a sensitive child that's like how I was, they would shut down and say, well, I'm not going to share my gifts. So all I'm saying is just watch your child. I'll summarize what you said. Watch your child, know if they can handle that type of information. If they can, find another way to show it to them that here, these are two ways that you present to them, the pros and cons, but I just don't like the lingo of persecuted. So I will find another way. That's all I'm saying about that.
And another thing with like in the communication with your child, I know as parents, we tend to get proud, especially, you know, we see them doing stuff that sometimes other people aren't able to do, or, I mean, it could be with anything. It could be sports, it could be singing, whatever. And we tend to brag. And with our gifts, we need to communicate, you know, once they get to that age where they can have that open communication with you and everything, and before expressing it to others, because it's kind of like telling your child's business in some ways. Some they're not ready to express that to the world, to share it to the world. So you always want to make sure, you want to be proud, and you're so extremely proud of what they're doing, what they're accomplishing, proud for them and everything else. Just communicate with them before you tell any, outside person what they can do. Make sure that it's okay with them first.
That is true.
Yeah.
You feel like you just pushed out there on the stage.
So,
Yeah.
so what I've got coming in.
I'm saying from experience because it shut our oldest daughter down.
Yeah.
Mm.
I understand.
So, you know, because every personality, every child is different. But we're talking from an old paradigm. We're talking from a dying age, a construct that is shifting dramatically. So, in terms of gifts and abilities, people aren't going to be able to shut anything off anymore. If they're not going to be able, they're going to need to know how to just grow with their gifts, grow with that skill set. And people who have been trying to kind of just don't look at me, I don't want to be different, are going to shine no matter what. So someone gave me an analogy. They said, you know, you can't ignore the sun, because they compared me to the sun. I was like, that's so cute. Like, you enter the room, you don't ignore the sun. You have to kind of notice it because it's there. All these people that are coming in, these new wave beings, and the children that are here with us now, they have a lot of gifts. Now, whether they're under the oppression of the old paradigm from the parental or the societal in order for survival is one thing. They're going to pretend, oh, I'm not psychic or intuitive, but we all kind of knew that something was wrong and we didn't want to do that anyway, but we did it because we wanted to fall in line with the thing. So all of this stuff is falling away. So what I'm understanding based on the just the sheer numbers of people, everyone that's coming in, gifted, period. Every child that's come in, I've called every mom, all my girls that have just recently had babies. I'm like, okay, so you excited about being pregnant? Are you excited about doing this? And they're like, what are you talking about? That's not. They go home, take a pregnancy test. Yes, I'm on it. You know, because I hear these babies coming in loud and clear. And so, yes, the old way of being was to outcast. Like I used to say this as the classic thing that Americans bond on is like hatred and like religious persecution, like that's kind of the one thing that we come together on. But we're now shifting because we're the youngest ones. We're the youngest of the cultures or nations, I guess you could consider us a strong culture. But we are shifting what's actually in power. We agree with and notice and acknowledge science, but we realize it's not the end all be all. Because that was what we wanted to do. We wanted to turn it patriarchal, right? We can control. If it exists, we can control it. But we know darn well we can't control anything. We can't control what messages God sends to us and the downloads from the universe. So I don't know how they thought they were going to try to control the population, especially now that all of these, what the prophecies and stuff are saying, this is the I think it's called the Kali Yuga that switches over when I'm using air quotes on this, right? But the 50,000 gods and goddesses from the Hindu religion are all being reborn. The ascended masters get reborn at this time. And the only way for us to consciously hold that is if the world changes, because it's been living under the whole world has been living under persecution, not allowed to show its full magical self, its holiness, right? Some of us can talk to plants or animals, and some of us are really good at communicating with people and being able to speak this. And that's why we have these tools to help guide this new culture we're rebuilding. Now, we're not starting completely from scratch, but we are realizing that everybody has no idea what's really going on or what they're doing. And that's okay. We're starting over again. So I think, by the time you've got your babies, Bertina, and the new kids that are coming in, they don't have the programming.
No, they don't.
And the parents are relearning, so they're not going to have that programming. So we're going to have schools, because I've seen schools in India where they have kids that can do the mind bending with the spoon. There's that little girl who does the interviews who can she can see fully blindfolded. Her third eye's like completely open, so she can see exactly what's going on. She could ride a bike with her eyes blindfolded. That's how well she can see. So they have schools that are the mystery schools that are allowing kids to explore in these realms. Now it's just a matter of spreading that consciousness, because we let ourselves be regimented and structured because we thought that would be the safety, right? But we found it's also part of the downfall, right? Because whoever controls the pocketbooks writes the history, right. And we are taking the money back. We're taking the industry back. We're taking our power back. And so as we call back power, especially as women, the true keepers of the hearts of like the whole world, we're shifting that spread. And that's why, spreading that love, spreading that positive consciousness, and allowing families to be new, to be different, allowing people to be accepted with unconditional love. Not saying that you can have no morals or be corrupt in that way, but just accepting you for who you are. You don't have to like chocolate. It's okay. More fun. My sister doesn't like chocolate, and I was like,
I just clutch my pearls.
Yeah.
That's very true. And one thing real quick, Kimberly, thank you so very much for your number one fan there and their donation of $10.
Yeah.
So that was wonderful. Thank you. I think one other thing we're seeing with this dynamic when we're looking at family, not only the gifts, because the younger generation is coming in with things we haven't seen in a very long time as being able to do. All right, all right, Jackie, come here. You tell them what you can do.
I can move things with my mind.
ooh.
That's so cool.
That is so
One
cool.
night, she was like, look, and I'm like, all right, turn off the ceiling fan, because she's watched, there's 5 years between the girls. So a lot of times I can do it too. And the ceiling fan was off and she's like really concentrating, and it moved. And I was like, okay, now if she could just figure out how to clean her room with her mind, we'll be set.
We all want that power. Okay, we all have that power.
All right, Helen said she can just do it with plastic bags and that's it. But now Helen's,
But I black out.
yeah, if she tries too hard, she blacks out. But her thing is, you're going to tell them about who hangs out with you?
Julie?
Yeah, tell them about Julie.
About the ghost in my room.
Well, she's not really, she's a spirit, but.
She hangs on the ceiling fan whenever she's in the room. That's how I know that she's there, because it'll start making like a lot of noise. And if you like call her by her name, like the ceiling fan like will stop moving and stuff, and I can hear her and I can talk to her.
Oh, wow.
But now tell her why she's there with you.
To help me through everything that's happening like in my life and things like that. If I need like reassurance about things or just general advice, and she helps me with that. And also just like my emotions, whenever they're all crazy, she helps me get grounded and she just helps me all around.
And how did she wind up here? What happened to her?
Suicide.
Yeah, suicide. She was a teenage girl that committed suicide. And so she comes to hang out and help Helen
because of my really bad depression. That's why she says that she struggled with the same level of depression that I did, and it got the best of her. So she's here to help me so that I can make it through.
She's
Right.
That's her karma contract I'm tapping into.
Do you have any advice for maybe kids who?
April, wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah. Now, that is what's happening. I'm channeling right now. She's doing that for the karma thing, this contract, because some of them decided they don't want to go, if you want to say the other side, and some of them decided they want to work on their karma and helping out others. And so that's what Julie has decided to do. She didn't want to cross over. She wanted to work on that as a helper or as a guide. I don't know what they call that, but I'm tapping into that's what's actually going on with that situation. Now you can take it, April.
So in terms of bringing it out for other kids that need assistance, do you have like advice for anyone who is like around your age range who has like depression or like emotional like ups and downs? Do you have some advice?
Just remember that it does get better and people do leave, but in the end, everybody's there to teach you a lesson, and you can't overthink the past because you can't change it, but all you can do is change the future and just keep on going and don't worry about things so much, and just know that it gets better in the end. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, and it will get better.
Oh, I want to hug her so bad right now. Like, oh, I love you so much. You're such a wise young lady.
They've both been told from a young age they were old souls, and this is long before any of this, even happened. With my activation or reactivation, I guess it would be. Now Jackie thinks hers is more like party tricks. She has fun with her. She's an open channel, so just all of a sudden she'll say something and she'll floor Helen and I. We were at Disney, and what was it she was saying?
Transfer.
And just all of a sudden these huge vocabulary words come out, and then she stands.
Transferred it.
She was saying something about we were transferring something, and then just stands there and looks at us like she wasn't real sure where that came from. And Helen and I are like, so here she is, as third grade, and just giving us this big. But the both of them are empaths, because when we go to like Walmart and stuff, if they haven't shielded up, and when we first started doing that, they'll get in the car and they're like ready to take a nap, and we live about a mile away from Walmart, and they're done.
Oh, one time we went to Walmart and lots of people took away our energy, and we were almost asleep in the car.
Mm-hmm. And Helen had a lot of trouble before I knew that, because she was kind of slow to tell me, because she just didn't realize they were like per se gifts. That was just normal to her. And Disney used to mess with her real bad, because you'd get in that crowd and you'd have people cramped in there and they're hot and kids are screaming and crying. And she was, about eight, right before everything came online. And she would just be like, I've got to get out of here. I can't take it, And so everything was, oh, well, it must be your ADHD. And that's kind of the way it was played off. And then as I learned more from you all with this and being an empath, I knew that was what was going on with her. It was like she has it where when she walks by him, it's like she can hear. It's like, all right, well, you explain it.
Well, when I walk past people, it's kind of like if I walk past somebody, I already know kind of everything that is basically to know about them. Like, I don't know their height, their weight, or things like that. But I know
bank account numbers. We might be hound to something, ladies.
It's like what they're feeling, their energy, I automatically take that on. And like she said, hearing, like if there's like a huge crowd full of people and there's one conversation in particular that I am listening to, I can hear that over everybody else, and I can't even hear anybody else. I can just hear that.
Wow.
It reminds me something that you said, Regina. You had talked about how your parents had cultivated this. I guess it was the way I took it was creating this safe place where I thought everybody can do it. It was natural for you, right? Because it was just you were safe to just kind of develop your gifts, talk about it, and I think that's where we're getting to, creating that space for our children. They were like, no, well, miracles are normal. This supernatural stuff is normal. Us being able to see things that is not concrete, that's normal. And I remember you talking about the freedom of that, being able to just oh wait, not everybody can do this. You were almost shocked, what do you mean? Because it was so normal for you that you're wait a minute.
Yeah, well, and to say that even when I even see a lot of kids that are gifted, I don't try to, I try to give them that freedom of expression and that able to use that visualization. I'll pretend a past we used to have in our classroom, there was Nemo. And I would pretend and, okay, Nemo says it wants to read a book, and the kids would go and get books. So, they were going ahead and use it. That's kind of something to use their imagination and visualization that, it's okay, freedom. If you see things or you hear something, it's a free space. They always say when they walk in my classroom, it's a home environment, it's free expression. I let them know that it's okay for them to do it. And I pass that on because I think for me, what I've seen in the classroom, these new ones, as April said, that's going on, it's okay for them to be able to express it. And you have to give them that feeling of comfort zone that it's okay to express yourself here. And that's why I said, I make sure I'm intentional when I do it. I'm purposeful when I do it with the kids. And I can see them even expressing themselves. And I tell them things that they see in the classroom. My kids know me best. I don't even hide it. They see it when I'm upset because the screen will start flashing or something to shut down. They're like, "You upset today, Miss Booker?"
Mm.
I say, "Yes, I didn't like the way you can tell because the screen flashed or the thing shut down." You know, so it's like, it helps them to understand, like, oh, if I do one day have these gifts, my teacher showed me the way. Now, again, like I said, you can be picky and choosy who you show it to, but I let them show it's okay. If you're having things like this and you wonder why, it's okay. Here I am. I'm your model showing you that it's okay for you to express yourself.
We've been doing that. Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. We've been doing that with our grands. Because like growing up, I was kind of taught that miracles were only in church, that type of mentality. I didn't realize until the last couple months, I didn't realize how gifted or even what my mother's gifts were, or even that she had gifts, because she didn't speak about it. My mother has prophetic dreaming, and she's a very powerful empath. With myself, my main thing has always been that I know that I know that I know that I know, and you can't tell me no different than my nose. That's been my main primary one since I can remember. And with our oldest daughter, when she started exhibiting, her gifts and everything, and I spoke to all of my children today except for one, and they gave me permission to speak on theirs plus their children's. Our oldest, the first time that we realized, now I knew that she was empathic. I saw that from get-go. But the first time that we realized that, it went beyond that was she woke up from a nap and came running out of the house, like to the front of the house, from the back of the house, saying, "The bad man in the white van took Remy. Remy's gone," which was the dog. And we're going, "No, we let Remy out just to go to the bathroom." Looked for that dog everywhere. Well, it turns out the bad man in the white van did come take Remy, and she's in there taking a nap. There's no way she could have known that. We thought maybe it was a dog catcher or something. It was a guy 2 blocks behind us with a white van that just stopped and grabbed the dog off the, pretty much out of the yard, the easement of the yard, took off with it. And that was the first time that her gifts really showed up strong. The issue with that was, bragging about it. We would tell everybody about that. We couldn't believe it,
Right.
And and she's an introvert at heart. So it kind of, she'd get a little bit embarrassed and everything. And with the other ones, that's Nikki. That's the oldest. Second is Ebony. And she is very strong. All of our kids are empathic, very strong empathic. Nikki is also a connector to me. I can be sitting here boohoo crying, be in a bad mood, and she's video calling me, and to the point where I'm looking at it going, no, I know you feel me, but I'm not, I don't want to talk right now. Ebony is pretty much the same way, but she's more on the wavelength with her siblings and not with her parents. Hold on, Mateo, please shut the door. He won't come talk to us, but he'll come in and interrupt.
Yes.
I love you. But with Ebony, also, she has the prophetic dreaming like my mother does. And she and I have just been recently talking about that. Ebony has been she's been going into 5D, and I didn't even realize this. And she didn't know that there was a term for it, but she's pretty much been doing it since she was about 15 or 16 years old. So, astral travel and stuff like that. And I think that, even though with our kids and everything, I wasn't adverse to talking about it, they didn't realize that they could come and talk about it. So nothing was really ever mentioned. They just knew that mom had an uncanny way of knowing that, they were up to doing something they shouldn't have been doing, but I think they pretty much chalked it up to that mom brain. With Mateo, he's very connected to his father, the way that Nikki is connected to me. He is also, when it comes to people that are suffering with depression, he is very empathic with them. He picks up on it like that. And also like psychic links and everything, but he's not ready to express it yet. He was diagnosed with ADHD and Asperger's, and it's a little bit harder for him to articulate. So, he's not really ready to express the things yet, but he's finally starting to open up and talk about it. But with the grands, what I was saying was, I've noticed our daughter, every time we see the grands start exhibiting something new, they praise it, they bring it out of them. Oh, that's great. One of them, she sees my DM's father who passed away, and we called him a specific name. There's no way she could have known this name, and that was how we first realized that she sees people that have passed on. She's just standing there talking to him, babbling away, calling him by name. She also sees my guides, and she's not even 2 yet.
Wow.
So, and definitely in clusters, yeah, which is really beautiful. And they chose us, and we chose them to be able to be supported in that way. Like, I find it interesting to see what's going to come up for Jupiter 1111 as the stuff starts coming off of the past. Because I'm as strong as you are, I can only imagine what was being suppressed from you guys.
I know. Well, it's just like that happened, right? When you had this, I had this hypotherapy. That's not what it's called, girl. Hypnotherapy. Gabby D. It was I had something with April, and it helped me with my health, and then I had something with Regina, and then I had the hypnotherapy. And so all those things, by the time I got the hypnotherapy, all this stuff started sloughing off. And then my gifts were coming, and I started this, what was that, remote seeing. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm very confused here. Because what happened was those things, like you said, not even making the connection that stuff was suppressing my gifts because there was pain involved. And then once the pain was gone and that was being healed, some of the other things that were being suppressed inadvertently by it just started coming up, where I was just like, what's going on? so somebody tell me what's going on, because I'm very confused right now. So it's interesting, right? Because you get rid of the negative inside of you, and then positive shows up, but you don't know how the positive is going to show up and how that really amplifies your gifts, because now there's more freedom in you because you have more love and acceptance of yourself.
And that's interesting that you say love and acceptance, because that's something that I have seen, especially with Helen and a lot of her friends, being very vigilant about people and their beliefs, and everybody being treated fairly, and everybody having a voice. It's just, they're really human rights. They're very much, and especially she is very much into human rights, making sure everybody gets a fair shake, everybody gets a fair say. And even to how she eats, she won't eat red meat. She won't eat pork because of the way that the slaughtering process is. And she says she knows those bad vibes are going in her body. And, understanding that at 14 let me rephrase that. Sorry. In 12 days, be 15, but she's understanding that at that point, that I think when I was at 15, I wouldn't have understood that. I knew that everybody had a voice, but it was never, encouraged. And you know, this is stuff that she's taken on. I mean, she begged to go to one of the protests and stuff like that. And I was I
even have petitions and phone numbers to call and things like that, and all of my social media in the description so that people can click and sign petitions and things like that, because I think that people should just have a voice in this time.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and a lot of our friends are that way, and we're seeing that, and I think that's going to play a big part in that dynamic of family, and that's where that soul family, like we talked about on Wednesday, comes in, and is so important, because those that don't accept our views, they'll still have that unconditional love from these kids when they become adults, and even now they still love them. They might not particularly like them, and they have a very strong voice on that. You know, this one will tell me in a heartbeat, you know, yeah, I don't like them, or yeah, I like them, or, you know, this relative or that relative. She and Jackie both have a real good sense about who good people are. And so I think that's where that whole soul family dynamic is coming in, because they're going to start really making their own, I guess tribe is the best word for that, more so than family, because they're going to bring in those people that they can cultivate together and build together. And they're going to be bringing in their twins, and they're going to be bringing in this dynamic, and it's going to be so much easier for them to build this and really become beacons of light, more so than, you know, where we're like lighthouses, you know, here and here, and it might be, you know, a few of us here, but like they're going to be like metropolises, you know, of light all together. And I think that's where a lot of, you know, we're getting that, especially like the whole people pleasing thing and all of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We're moving into that understanding. They said now that more than family consists more than just blood. And that's what we're moving into. I heard that on somebody's video one time, and I was like, oh, and you are right. I was laughing. Well, I wasn't laughing at what you were saying. I was laughing in the classroom, because a lot of times the kids would say, that's not fair. And, oh, I don't like, well, what's wrong? I don't like the system principle. Why? And they give you, I mean, detailed rationale. It's not like something off the top of their head why they don't like the system principle. They like, she's not fair. She doesn't listen. She's not, you know, ethical. I'm like, where you know that word from? And, you know, they're marking it down. And you're right. And you sit there and I'm like, you know what? You're right. You know, I can't argue with them. They're like, you know, I know you know I'm right. Because I can tell by your Facebook book that I'm right in what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah, I can't argue with you. And this is the type. The only thing is, like I said, you just, when you have those type of children, you just want to make sure that you got the right markers or landmarkers or mentors in place that can be able to mentor them the right way when they have that thing. And that's my kind of, not fear, but that's just like my prayer, that they'll have somebody that can be able to cultivate them and show them the right way. Because sometimes their parents, the ones that I see now, some of the ones I'm working with, they're a work in progress. I'll say it nicely because I see April looking at me. So I'll use a nicer word to say they're a work in progress. And that's all I'm going to say. On that one. Yes, April.
So it's like how long it takes to work out, because our earth is shifting paradigms and she's the leader, right? So we're following the leader more or less and helping her hold the vibration. And, you know, there is a clear split happening if you see it. And some of us are shaking off old paradigm stuff, like old self-worth issues, just kind of an impending sense of fear or dread kind of thing. A lot of that is based on the trauma and the ancestral trauma that we're carrying. So if, let's say, your grandparents were followed around, or like I have a lot of interracial relationships and stuff that happened, or cross-cultural, like my grandfather married a Cherokee woman and they had a child. So like there's a lot, and they're in the deep South. So like there's a lot of that kind of just feeling oppressed and attracting that kind of energy toward the self, where now we're finally like integrating it, seeing it, and allowing it to transition into something else. And so holding that space and providing the space for the kids to just be different, to say no, right? Before you couldn't say no. You had to go hug so-and-so or kiss so-and-so, even if you didn't want to. you know. And so we're finally getting to the point where we're like, no, we don't need to do that. It's cool. And then, you know, the corona helps with that, because then you're like, shoot, I can keep my distance, man.
The aspect of sovereignty.
Exactly. It is reinforcing the sovereignty. It is reinforcing, and a lot of the out processing of the old templates from the families. These kids are going through a lot of different types of trauma. So new avenues and new tools for healing come up. New types of meditations or visualizations come up. And I'm finding myself that I've been this way since I was young. But I always have to change it. So like, even if I've done something, like, yes, I'll start doing it. It'll work. And then for a while, it'll stop working. Even with deodorants, it's the same way. Because they all had so many chemicals, my body would just take them in and like, it would reject it. Like, it would tell me by the odor that I was making that this was not what you need to use. Right? And I find out like all kinds of issues with abscess and different things like that from under my armpits, just from these things having so much chemicals. And then when I was 18, I did research on these products and found out, oh, majority of the products in here are precursors to cancer, or they find them in cancer cells. And so like, they don't even really leave your body very easily. Like, we're redefining and reforming how we do clothing, right? Because I'm going to say this, and we'll probably find some studies, but bras and stuff and underwear, they cut off your lymph from draining properly. So I think a major part of breast cancer issues is because our body can't drain it because it's being pinched off. So your body isn't able to even fully circulate it. Like, I met some people who even wear bras and all kinds of heavy stuff at night, so their body doesn't even get any rest to allow it to flow, and with the dehydration and all that stuff. So we're all relearning the body, we're relearning the template, we're rebalancing, and then the kids have now, they're doing an out processing. So Kathy D and her kids are ahead of the game. Bonita's kids are ahead of the game because Bonita's holding the space, you know. Jupiter 1111, you've been holding the space, prayer warrior for sure. And I know Mama's holding the space for you, Bertina. So I'm pretty excited because, I mean, I was able to have the vision. I was able to say I had the download that I'm supposed to come here to have my family. This is how it is. And my baby's father was like the only one that wasn't scared of, I mean, he had to have been a little bit crazy for that, but because I say it within the first 5 minutes of meeting me, I've been told by God that I'm here to start a family, so I'm going to have a child within 2 minutes of meeting someone. So if they're hitting on me, it's like, no, I'm here to have a child specifically. God told me. So, you know, like,
weirdest pickup line. No, I'm supposed to be having a child. Are you the baby daddy? Hold on.
Exactly.
Let me check your aura. Make sure your spiritual DNA is okay.
Exactly.
It's not, but go ahead and buy me the mozzarella sticks. We should just have a conversation.
Let's go get something out of this, baby.
I really want to ask, like, Helen or Jackie if they have any.
Oh, right.
They want to do like if they have any guided meditations, or if they have anything that they use to kind of help center themselves. And then I have a couple things for protection that came through when they were talking about that. So it's like an upgraded egg.
Do you want to tell them? All right. So through the dark night of the soul and everything, Jackie decided that for my best interest, she would come and sleep with me. And so she, on her own, came up with this meditation. So you want to tell them what you would tell me to do? You got to talk loud because we're on the speaker, not on head mic.
So I would tell her to take one of her best friend's pictures and put it up against her heart. Then she would say that everything would be better and say what would happen in the future with all of them. And then she would put it under her pillow. And then she would do all the rest again. And then she would be able to go to sleep.
Oh, nice. So it's kind of like calling in angel or calling in guides and assistance with your friends, guides and stuff as well, right? Is that what I'm understanding?
She told me to take the picture of the DM and put it on my heart. and remember the good times we had and the things we were going to do together in the future. And then pick the picture under my pillow. Now this was a dark night and I'm like dragging my head on the carpet. And then I get this one comes in aggravated at me because she's just like, he's coming back. What's the problem? Like, why are we wasting this energy?
Oh, I like Helen so much. Like, get it together, Mom.
Exactly. That was it. And she would get aggravated with me, and I'd have those moments of, I just miss him. I just wish I could talk to him. She goes, oh,
Yeah.
I've witnessed those moments.
yeah.
Okay, April.
Yes. I mean, I think it's cool. My baby's falling asleep right
You
now.
want to tell me about your heroine?
I thought you had some.
All right, and Helen's got one real quick.
Okay.
To kind of keep myself balanced, because I am known to have a really, really big ego. I put my forehead to my mirror, and I can see my ego, and I can see like this, like my conscious that like brings me down, but I can kind of be like I can just kind of level with my ego so it's not as bad. So because it helps me stay so where I can still have thoughts without it being overridden by ego.
Okay, nice. So it doesn't cloud your judgment as much when you kind of release it on the mirror side. Is that what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I'll work on that. I'll practice. See how it goes.
I know. I was like, oh, that's so good. I'm gonna do it.
What about if you don't feel like good about yourself that day? Do you have a technique for if you don't feel good about yourself?
So basically you just have to, like, what I do is I just sit in front of my mirror and I'll have my headphones in and I'll listen to like my favorite songs and I'll just like look at myself in the mirror. And over time, the longer that you look at yourself, and if you're just sitting there and you're just feeling the music and stuff, like you walk out of like the room as if you like are the most beautiful girl in the world. Like you're a Victoria's Secret model, because like you're just sitting there and you just realize that you're in your own space and that you are beautiful.
Beautiful. What about you, Mama? Do you have a technique for feeling good?
Yeah.
I used to. I mean, I don't.
Most of the time I will pray at my meditation in the morning. Like the little young lady say, I'll put on music, one of my favorite songs, gospel. And when I get through, I'm a crybaby. I got to stop that. Because the spirits have told me, got to stop that so much. But anyway, by the time I get through my days, I'm ready for the day. So that's my big meditation and everything. I have 3 that I pray. I have one by Benny Hinn, I pray. That's my favorite, and another one, an African one, Alpha and Omega, and another spirit. So when I get through, I'm ready for the day. I'm ready. That's my
Lovely. All right. I like that. I'm gonna do that. I need to play more music. That's what I got out of today's episode. Play more music.
And stare into the mirror longer.
I used to do that when I was a baby, and I would get lost. And while you guys were talking, I started remembering things because I've been hopping out of my mom's dreams since I was a little girl. Since I could audibly tell her what happened in the dream, she would confirm that I hopped in her dream. But one day when I was 13, I had some kind of trauma happen to me, and I couldn't tell if it was this lifetime or a past lifetime or what. But I actually hopped out of the dimension because my mom was looking for me, and she said I was missing. And I was asleep in my bed. Okay, and my bed was right in the door. So if you open the door, which she did, and you looked, you would see me. But I was gone. So I'm thinking I can actually hop in and out of dimensions. So I'm pretty stoked for my hypnotherapy session.
Gonna have to put weights on your feet
for the real lifetime jumps. Oh my goodness. What was that movie where they hopped in and out? Anyway,
now we're all distracted, like, Jesus, can I have that superpower? That sounds so cool.
You sound like me and Bertina with her astro travel. I'm like, oh, can I do that?
All I want is those like vegan peanut butter Haagen-Dazs chocolate ice creams. Oh my goodness, they are ridiculous. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that sounds good.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like an ice cream Snickers, but fancier, you know? It's just
Well, while you're out jumping places, grab us some.
Right. And visit every last one of us.
And then you're like, why does it smell like a freezer? I'm like, oh, that's as close as I could get. That's as close as I could get. It smells like a freezer.
What's that taste in my mouth? Yeah.
Okay, so the protection.
Yeah.
So basically, what it's going to look like is we're doing, you know, you guys have done the work with the egg, right? Your mom taught you about the golden egg around you. Like you're sitting inside of a bubble and it's kind of sheer, see-through, right? So you always have it on you. And it's silver lining on the inside, and then it goes to gold, rose gold, and the violet. So, and because it's thin and sheer like a bubble, what you can do is you can pick up a stone, any stone. This, you don't have to pick up a stone permanently, right? This is just to help you with your mind, so you have something to grasp onto. And what you do is you take your favorite place, like being with your mom or laughing or having a good time, and you fill the inside of your egg with that energy, and then you mimic, you have your shell mimic the stone. So it turns hard and no one's energy can get in it. But you can see out, kind of like a tinted window on a car, you can see out, but it's hard like a stone, so nobody's energy, because everybody's trying to, a lot of people have trauma since birth, right? And so they're all craving that nurturing and that they all kind of clinging, even with their energies, whether they're not with their physicality, they might push away or do whatever, but they're still clinging and they're thirsty. And so from the moment they don't even know that they're doing it, most people, but they're just pulling and siphoning energy wherever they can to try to feel safe or try to feel grounded and connected to the earth and, you know, okay in their environment. So they're using each other to do it. And that's why it's so easy when people have stress or trauma, why they try to stress and traumatize other people around them so they can feel comfortable, right? But we don't have to go to their level. We just allow it to be like a stone, like have it just cement wall up, but it's a big egg around you. So you're walking around in a cement or a stone like egg. So they cannot touch you. Does that make sense? Can you feel the shift when you shift even in your mind's eye from the stone, from the sheer bubble to the stone? And you can go back and forth, but it will help you with your spiritual protection. And then, you know, fill the inside with joy. Remember to fill it with love. And if something is really harsh going on around you, when you have your protection around you, you need to kind of keep pouring on that experience that was the lighthearted, loving experience, pouring that energy in. So like you're saying, put on your good music in your headphones and just rock out. Have a good time. Feel that good vibe. But it's very simple.
Yeah, and it's much needed. I'm glad that Mom even heard through Helen and Jackie how when, even at their age, it was hard for me to go into crowds. And I'm so glad that they shared that too. That's why I was pointing at her and say, you see, that's why I was trying to tell you that at their age, that I was like, I can't deal with all the people. And that shielded energy exercise that you had given was really on point. I add on extra to that because I add on the angels. So I also have angel protection in their life. Like they have Archangel Michael take the blue light and put it around that egg for extra protection. I also ask for any lower entities or lower vibrations thing outside of that circle, outside of that thing, outside of my egg of protection as well. That's another added thing that you can do that too. And I say I do not allow you to go past that shield of protection. You're not allowed to, because you also are able to tell lower vibrations that you know, they have to obey your will. So that's another way of also adding another layer to that egg. And it makes me feel also, if it's mentally and spiritually, like I'm shielded up. And sometimes you have to kind of, if you feel like you have to touch it up a little bit too. You go through it, but then sometimes you go to some places if you got an overactive mind. that you have to say, okay, now shield it back up again, just kind of repatch it up also. So that's just another added technique that I say to the angel aspect as well.
What I saw was we all, or at least as my understanding, we each get at least minimum 4 guardian angels for at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're always holding guard at like the 4 posts of your bed or your car or around your person. Like they always got you. Whether you're listening or not, that's a whole nother thing. Right? You can't be stubborn, but they're always doing their best to protect you. So
and I think it goes back to what you were talking about, the narrative, April. It's like you added something, that Bettina added something, and it's like keep on talking over the protection until you feel like it's kind of like what Helen was talking about, putting the music on and looking in the mirror until she saw herself the right way, which was that she is beautiful, you know. So like until the distortion dissipates, just keep on building and enjoying the space, and then you'll know, you're like, oh, I got it. You know, shields up. we're as one. We're good. But it's like being free with the narrative, you know, and paying attention to what you're saying, because like, oh, okay, yeah, that feels good. The egg feels good. I love that analogy too with the car. I'm like, oh yeah, that's so easy. Like I can see out, but they can't see in. So you feel protected, like you can't see me, you know. But then you're like, oh, I get it. They can't see me because I'm shielded. Then adding, like Bettina said, okay, I feel good with when I'm conscious about the angels, or like Helen is conscious with Julie. Is that her name, Julie? You know that. No, Jackie's the daughter. Julie's Julie, right? Yeah, her spirit friend. So even like those kind of things, like activating it through speech, and then it like gives you that visual, and you're like, oh, I got it. My team is here. I'm not by myself. We got this. I'm protected in my very cool, you know, secret egg that nobody can see but me. And that's okay.
Okay, as we're coming to a close, because we've been at this an hour and 30 minutes, is there any advice, even from the kids, from Helen and Jackie, as far as even mothers too, about those of having gifted children or families? What advice would you give them as going into this newness, this new age, or raising a child in this kind of environment that we're experiencing now, or whichever? What advice would you give? Let's just put it that way.
To stick with what you believe in yourself, and not to go off of what other people think or what other people say or what you think other people might say or think, but always stick with who you know that you are, and don't try to change that or go around that for anything, or don't try to shield your gifts from anybody to like fit in, because in the end of the day, if we all fit in, nobody's gonna remember. So I think that you should stick with what you believe.
All right. Jackie, what do you think? What's your advice for anybody that's like your age and you can start figuring out stuff, or things are coming to you? What should you do? You don't know? Maybe mention it to your parents?
That doesn't sound like something a kid would do.
Yeah, why? You did?
I did.
Yes. I think as a parent, you know, give your kids that safe space to know that they're safe, and whether they have these gifts. And I think April's, you know, dead on this. We're going to see so much of this next generation having these amazing gifts. It missed for so many years, and now it's coming back where they're having these amazing gifts. And I think when we give them that safe space, we need to learn to protect them, put that ball of protection and that egg around them, but, you know, just to make sure before, you know, if they have or haven't, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And, you know, it's just like, you know, that extra layer of protection to give them that safety to be their own person, and to learn to navigate their gifts and, see what's going on.
Sounds good. Jupiter 1111.
It's funny because it's like going back to love and acceptance, right? It's not just about their gifts, but if you're cultivating an atmosphere where they feel loved and accepted, then they will come to you and they'll ask the questions. It's like not only about this, but other tougher things of life. So that's how you can start evaluating, even as a parent, am I really cultivating a space for my children that they feel loved and accepted, by starting to audit the conversations you're having with them. How are they coming to you when my daughter's so funny, when she would do something and I would know she did something that she wasn't supposed to do, but I'm just like waiting for it. She would come in the room and she would put her head down and she's like, I got something to tell you. And I'm like, oh, like playing like possum. Oh, what are you doing? What are you talking about? And then she was just like, I did this and this and this and this. But she knew that she can come and tell me and kind of like confess it out, because I wasn't going to be like berating her and cussing her out and making her feel less than because she did something that she knew she shouldn't have done. And then we were able to have that conversation. So it's not just about the gifts, like check the other things too. If they're able to do those things, then the gift conversation and the nurturing will happen organically. But it's always like, we're not going to get it 100%. So you have to like also give yourself grace and, forgive yourself for the missteps you've made. That's why you pray over your kids. You're like, Lord, whatever I screwed them up, fix it, Jesus. I love them. I didn't mean to mess them up. But just like,
they didn't come with directions.
Yeah. They just like constantly be like, I just really, letting them know that they're loved, letting them know that they're accepted, and then showing them that they are. So when they're different, especially if your children have different personalities than you, because it's like iron sharpens iron, and with very drastic personalities, it's like that's when you have to even do more as a parent to reach your kid and to connect with them, because your personality, gift cluster, and how you like to communicate is going to be so drastically different than your child's that you might say something and they'll take it the wrong way because it's different than how they receive. So it's like, study your kid, that way you know how to communicate with them, and then just practice love and acceptance and connection. And the more you practice that connection and conversations, the more they'll feel safe about everything, including their gifts, and they'll flourish that way from the inside out.
Right. Bonita?
Pretty much Jupiter just covered most of it, but in addition to that, because communication is key. It's the baseline when it comes to the family dynamic and a new family template coming in, and the kids right there in the middle. Communication is the primary thing. In addition to that, healing, while we're doing our healing, because we never stop healing to the best that you can. And in certain aspects, you can't involve your kids, but in some ways you can involve your kids. Let them know what you're doing. Communicate with them about that. Say, I found this out about myself. I dug deep and I found this. And, remember when I did this? I think this is why, I reacted that way to it. Include them in it so that they're understanding about response and reaction, wounding, and stuff like that. And just keep communicating with them. Always keep an open line of communication with them.
I love that. That's good. April?
All of that was extremely beautiful. And the foundation, I would say, is knowing yourself, right? Because they are from you, or you were made from them. And it's super reflective, going backwards and forwards, and I mean in the timelines, like looking at my parents and looking at my child and looking at the relationships that I have in between on this level. It's all based on, or a lot of it's based out of either conscious or subconscious program. And so taking the patience to accept myself and have forgiveness for myself allows me to flow with them a lot easier, and allows me to see and hear from a perspective that's more empowered, so that I know that I can keep moving and changing. And that sense of empowerment, my son thinks he can do pretty much anything until I say no, and then he kind of falls all out because it's brand new. No, right? It's 1.5. So no is a new concept. Like what? I can't just play in the toilet water. No. But then enjoying it, right? Enjoying the fun start of, and enjoying the firsts, enjoying, I think that's part of it. It's just being able to see myself in him, being able to see what strengths he has, because there's a difference, right, between him and I, and also just appreciating and knowing when there's space to be had, right? Because there's times when I just want to be all up in the micromanaging helicopter momming type, and it's like, no, I gotta let him do his thing. He's like, and I let him be the king of the curve. He's total Capricorn with the curve. So if he doesn't want to deal with it, he won't deal with it. And I'm like, okay, look at that, boundaries. I need to learn that. He has better boundaries than
Yeah, we could definitely learn from him.
So learning as much as, if not more than you teach.
True. Fine.
The question, what advice would you give?
Oh, it's, when in our house, talking like we were talking, it was just normal conversation, and I really learned more for Tina for certain things I knew about the spiritual and the spiritual, but I didn't understand the orals and whatever. Something that someone said long ago, when I first time I seen it, I cut it off, and the young ladies there, they seen now everything. What's the young lady?
Helen,
you're doing a beautiful job. Keep it up. You're doing a beautiful. I'm proud of you and everything. Because when I learned about all that, I cut it off, and I was old, and it's hard. I know what, because I got a friend, and I didn't know what it was. I said, what is this? What is it? I knew about the spirit. I knew about everything else, but I didn't know. So all what you all each learning, each talking about the protection, keep everything up. I pray, and I each one of you all is doing a beautiful job. So every time you come, I'll ask her, how was the meeting? She said, it was fine. I see it, and I love each one of you all very much.
Yeah, and so this my advice would just be to be open and receptive, to really be, as a parent, open-minded with whatever your child comes to you with. And this kind of, to me, go off of their script, whichever way they're going, and then just be there to kind of guide them and mold them, and just like bumper cars or like bumpers on the bowling, just up there to just say, okay, go back this way, but not to curve them and say intentionally this because of my fear, or this because this is what happened to me and I don't want it to happen to you.
Yeah.
You want to invoke that fear on yourself. So you're just there to just kind of say, okay, I'm here if you need that kind of support. That's what I would say to you as a parent, and what I've seen teachers. That's what's your role, being as a new family, new parent of these new kids that just let them fly, and then see where they're going and take it off, and then take it from there. All right, ladies, this has been a wonderful talk. I think we covered a lot of things as well. So if you want more information from our own Kathy D, our own Jedi, if you want that also, that are you offering that service for the hypnotherapy?
Yes.
Okay, as well. If you're interested in getting that, go to pineapplefishlife.com as well. If you're interested in that, she has that as a feature as well. Also, thank you so very much to the babies, to Helen and Jackie, for joining us today as well, and being very honest with the dialogue.
Love you.
But I'm so glad that they felt the need to share out from their perspective about what's happening with families as well. And then also, I'm going to order I have. If you want some advice, some meditation, also a wealth from our own Golden Girl, our own Hawaiian goddess, we have our goldenlight.com. Golden Lifestyles Unlimited. Yeah, so she has a beautiful meditation and body works and clearings from her. That is her specialty.
Okay.
And
Okay.
some more from, I've got to go through. Here we go. I'm going down the line. Yeah, 11, I'm doing like my class. Jupiter 11, Jupiter 11. So Jupiter.com, Jupiter.com. She is our own chakra queen.
Please be careful.
Lady of the hour with so much
You my dog?
that can be able to clear you up in your healing in your body, mind, and spirit as well. So you can go to Jupiter.com as well to get that info. And where is yours at? I know I got you. And then we also have our own Bonita. If you like some more understanding about family, she understands very much so. We didn't dive into that, but she talked about it more so on Wednesday about like the soul contracts with the baby, the soul babies, the new dynamics of how the families are going to also look as far as even if that's not your child and you have a child or your significant other has one and how you share the baby. She talked about that too. And if you're interested in that, go to Divinelightrising at gmail.com. She has her own channel, just like the 1111 has and the rest of us. It is give it to me because I'm about to chew it up again.
Yeah. Wave of a beautiful warrior.
Thank you.
It's like wave of a beautiful warrior.
Yeah, because I'm about to go surfing by the time I finish with it. It ain't gonna be what she said. All right, and beautiful. And all right, and then my own Divineunisouls11.co as well. If you like channel messages, I didn't put today because it wasn't about me, it was about the kids and the next generation family. But also on my state as well. So if you're interested in that, you can always come for that. And we also have our playground experience where you get all of us. April Williams handles the body, Kathy D handles the mind, and I handle the spirit. And you get that for $90 an hour, a piece of each one of us. We have already going feedback from the usage of our program. So if you want to have an idea of something that you want to use or some concept or idea that you want us to help you, please make sure to hit us up so we can be able to help you with that concept or idea that you need as well. And as always, click like, share, and subscribe to this channel. If you like the things that we're doing on the playground or in the sandbox, make sure you smash that bell for notifications so you can see when's the next time we're hanging out in the sandbox. All right, Kathy D, Helen and them, they gone, huh? They went back.
They're like,
right? Yeah. There we go. They're like, I'm finished. She didn't pay me nothing but for the end of the show. We don't do credits and stuff.
well, they missed something on TikTok, so you know. But wishing you all the best life ever. Remember, pick up your own sand bucket, throw away your virtual juice box, empty your shoes before you go in the house, and we'll see you real soon.
All right. Jupiter 1111. I'm not finished. I'll do everybody. Hold on.
May all your days be like days of heaven on the earth.
Thank you. All right. And Bonita.
Always follow your heart and ride the wave.
All right. I love that. April Williams.
Stay blessed. Stay golden.
All right. And as always, stay uplifted, stay motivated, stay ascended. Namaste. Namago. Thank you for hanging out for us. All right. Aloha.